Hi everyone, it's John from What Up and welcome back to another video. Now, we have had a bunch of news in the last week since the show dropped, and there's a few things I wanted to cover this evening, including a couple of, they're not quite leaks, but they are mistakes made by Amazon, where they gave us some more information than perhaps they wanted to earlier, and then they kind of rescinded it. But we'll talk about all of that in tonight's video. So if you're new to the channel and you don't know what I do here, I cover Wheel of Time show news. So anything and everything to do with the Sony and Amazon production, that's what we talk about here. I'm also doing episode breakdowns, Easter eggs, parents reviews, regular reviews, and non-reader questions for every single Wheel of Time episode released. You're not going to want to miss any of those, so make sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell because there is a ton of Wheel of Time content coming out for me between now and Christmas. Alright, before we actually get into the video, spoiler warning. In this video, we're going to talk about certain elements of episode 4, yes, I said 4, of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. So if you don't like spoilers and you don't want to be spoiled for the show, be forewarned. We're going to ruin some elements of episode 4, and then we're going to talk about things that may happen later on in the season. Alright, all of that being said, let's get on to the video. Alright, so we're going to start with this first. Brandon Sandersons has a Reddit account. Moving on. No. That's probably not big news or a shock to most of you. Brandon Sandersons, for those of you who don't know, haven't read the book series, he wrote the last few books of the Wheel of Time, and he is a giant author in his own right. He has all kinds of very successful books, and he is a big voice in the fandom. So essentially, he helped production. He vetted some of the early scripts. He offered advice. He talked with Rafe and some of the writers, and he and Rafe, I mentioned it in another video before, butted heads just a little bit. They agreed to disagree here and there over certain elements of the story. For example, Brandon didn't really like the way Abel was treated in the story. He didn't like Matt Coughlin's parents on screen the way they were. He understood why, but he didn't enjoy it. He wasn't a big fan of the Lila Ibarra arc either, although he completely understood why they were doing it, and a bunch of other things. But essentially, what he did recently is the show came out on the 19th, and he wrote a few Reddit posts. And these Reddit posts talk about some of the changes between the books and the show, talk about some of the challenges that production had. For example, Rafe Judkins wanted a 2-hour premiere and 10 episodes per season, which, if you watched my review of episode 1 and it wasn't exactly 100% flattering, my big issue was pacing. I think a lot of people had the same issues with the first episode. They wanted to put more into it. Now, we've seen some pictures of deleted scenes here and there already from the first episode, and we know that there was more filmed that maybe perhaps that Rafe and the rest of the team wanted to put in there, but they just couldn't. Anyway, I wanted to highlight these articles and left a link to them down below. I won't go through them too much in too great detail, but they are a fantastic read. Go take a look at them. It's a really good insight into what production had to deal with when they were actually making the show, and what Brandon is allowed and willing to say about it. Really, really good read. Now we're going to talk about this. This is one of those things that maybe Amazon didn't mean to do. Maybe they did. I don't know. But this is an advertisement for the show, basically saying, don't miss it, it's coming out on Fridays. And front and center, right there, is Loial. This is our first official look at the character, played by Hammond Animashan. Now, he was leaked hours prior to the first big trailer release. For those of you who haven't seen those leaked images, they circulated around widely. I didn't show them here on the channel because I was asked not to, although there are still a bunch of other YouTube videos showing those images. They're on Reddit, they're floating around Twitter time, and some of those images showed certain things, including Loial. Now, there was a lot of speculation when we saw that image that it was unfinished VFX. They were going to add some things to his character, make him look a little bit different for the screen. That does not appear to be the case. This is a final, finished, polished publicity image advertising the show, and it shows Hammett as Loial in the front of everyone else. Basically, he's in the foreground a bit, and he is taller than most of the characters, so we can definitely say he's taller, but he's not quite the size that Ogiers are said to be in the books. It doesn't appear that anyway. It's hard to tell from this picture. And there's a few other aspects that are slightly changed from what most people pictured Loial from the description of the books. So I want you folks to weigh in down below. What do you folks think about how Loial looks? I mean, this is our first official look at it, and I'm going to say this was probably a mistake, mainly because they tried very hard not to showcase this anywhere for any reason up till now when this ad came out. And when the ad came out, well, everybody saw Loial officially. This is an official product from Amazon, and there was no fanfare. There was nothing else happening. It was just this ad. So let me know what you folks think of how Loial looks in the comments down below. Now, the next couple things we're going to get into here are going to be a little spoilery, just so you're aware. We're going to talk a bit about Season 2, and we're also going to talk a bit about Episode 4. Yes, I did say 4. 4's not out for another couple of days yet, but Amazon did make a mistake, and it's to our benefit. First thing we'll talk about is Season 2. Alexandre Willaume, who plays Thom Merrilin, is back in Prague, and he is on set filming for Season 2 currently. That's pretty exciting news because we do know that we meet him in Cairhien when Rand basically comes out of the mirror world with Celine and the rest of the company, and they go to Cairhien. Now, if the story stays even a little bit the same, which I think they will because they did cast Lord Barthanes recently, and we'll talk about that in my next casting video, which should be out tomorrow, I think we're going to see Thom in Cairhien, and I think we're going to see the Lord Barthanes manor scene where Thom helps Rand basically navigate it while they're looking for the horn. Really fantastic. I'm happy he's back. I really enjoyed him in Episode 3, and I've said it on Twitter, and I'll say it here again in this video. I like Show Thom way more than I like Book Thom, at least so far from what I've seen. I like his edgy, cool take in the character. That's just my own personal opinion. I do enjoy that. Now, we're going to talk just a bit about Episode 4 here. This happened. On the Explore page of Amazon, what they did is they released some stuff about Episode 4 early by accident. It was up for a while. A bunch of people got screenshots of it, and then they took it down because it shouldn't have been there. However, it gave us some information about Episode 4. So, this is, notice the date, 6, ADR 998NE, Loghain's army versus the Aes Sedai. Now, I'll read it here for you. The Aes Sedai mended Moiraine's wound, and she assisted them in holding Loghain captive. Moiraine and her other two sisters wrestled with Loghain as his army laid siege to the camp. Loghain broke free and nearly killed them all with his tainted power, but Nynaeve channeled and healed the injured. The remaining sisters joined together to gentle Loghain, cutting him off from one power and leaving him powerless. So, big things in this one little blurb that gives a lot away for the next episode. Essentially, at the end of Episode 3, Moiraine's injured, she's dying, they're trying to find a sister to heal her, and that's the cliffhanger. Now we show here they come across a bunch of sisters in an Aes Sedai camp. Now, if some of the promotional materials believe that's going to be Karine Nagashi, Liandrin, Priyanka Bose, who plays Alana Mosfani. We're going to see some of those Aes Sedai in that camp, and they heal Moiraine, so she's fine. Loghain's army attacks, which we've seen again in the trailer, and then during the escape attempt, some of the sisters are injured, and then they gentle him on the spot, which is not supposed to happen. He's supposed to go back to the tower to stand trial. This is a huge spoiler because everyone just assumes they're going to parade him through the streets of Tar Valon just like they were going to in Caemlyn, have the trial, we would see all that on the screen, and then he would be gentled. But if they're gentling him on the spot, that's bad news, and that could be part of the reason why Swan looked so angry with Moiraine in some of the teasers and trailers. Alright, next little bit is also from this Explore page, and this is the last thing we're going to go through today. This is Rand, Mat, and Thom face a fade. This happens 2 days prior to the Loghain army attacking the camp of the Aes Sedai. So again, this happens right after the events of Episode 3, so just after they leave Breen Spring, these events happen. So Rand, Mat, and Thom worked on a family farm in exchange for a place to rest. Now, any of you who've read the book series probably recognize that as most likely being the Grinwell farm because the Grinwells have all been cast, including Helga, or Else, as she was originally cast as. But something seemed to be corrupting Mat. Both Rand and Thom noticed his worrisome behavior. Now, I mentioned that in my last Easter egg video, that we think that they're starting to see the early effects of Mat's corruption as they leave Shadar Logoth, because he essentially wanted Rand to boost him over the wall first. A little bit early for that, but I think they're accelerating it quite a bit for the screen. So Mat wandered off in the middle of the night, and the two found him standing over the massacred bodies of the entire family. But it wasn't Mat who murdered them, it was a Fade. Thom fought the Fade, allowing Rand and Mat a chance to flee. Now, here's where it gives... That's some big spoilers for this episode. Essentially, we've already heard about the other parties with the Aes Sedai. Now we're hearing about Rand and Mat. So the Grinwells all die. Big departure from the books. During the book series, they're basically just on the farm for a bit. They meet Else. She makes some calf eyes, I think is the exact words used, at Rand. But then they leave in the morning, and that's pretty much it. That is where they learn that Mat can juggle, that Rand can play the flute, and that's how they make their way through to Caemlyn by supporting themselves at different inns and stuff, long after Thom's already gone. Now, in this, Thom is with them, leaves Breen Spring, they stop at this farm. I'm going to assume We're probably going to see some sort of little bits of entertainment from Thom and maybe a random Matt here as a nod to the fans and of the book series and the readers. However, a fate kills the family, so the Grindelwalds all die. Now, this could be the reason why Robin Betteridge's character was changed from Else to Helga. Now, she was cast as Else, she did all of her lines and all of her scenes as Else, and then they changed it to Helga, and that is an official change. So I have been informed by a source close to the production that, yes, she's no longer Else. We're not going to see her as Else on the screen. We will see her as Helga. And the only thing I can think of is because Helga and Else are very easy to change up because it's the same mouth movements in ADR. But they all die, and that could be the reason why they changed her. Maybe they're going to keep Else in later on. Maybe they do have an older daughter, Else, which makes sense because she is the older daughter in the books, and she is at the White Tower getting training, which is how the books see it. Now, again, that could be a complete stretch. That's my own thoughts. I'm just spitballing there. I really don't know if that's the case. But big spoilers in these two little scenes that they released, and wow. I don't know what to say. I hope they keep doing stuff like this over the coming weeks because I like seeing stuff early. I like showing you folks stuff early, especially when it's an honest mistake that a bunch of other people have seen because I can show it. It's not something that was leaked and there might be consequences there. So this is absolutely fantastic to see. All right, last thing I want to mention before I let you folks go is this. Alitza is the one that does all the graphic design and music for the channel, so all these beautiful slides, the thumbnails, everything you see there. She is absolutely exceptional at it. She has her own Wheel of Time channel, and it's in Bulgarian. So for those of you who may speak Bulgarian or my Bulgarian viewers, I've left a couple of links down below in the description box to her channel and do her Wheel of Time breakdowns. So she is doing Wheel of Time breakdowns and talking about the Wheel of Time in her native language. So that's something, if you do speak Bulgarian, please go check it out. It's absolutely fantastic. She's really, really, really insightful when it comes to the series. And in fact, I believe she's had to break her review and her breakdown into 3 separate videos because it was almost 2 hours long. So you're going to want to go check that out. I've left links down below in the description box to them. Now, all of that being said, thank you so very much for sticking with me here. I want to hear your thoughts on this. How do you think episode 4 is going to play out? Let me know in the comments down below. Is there any Easter eggs that you really hope to see in episode 4? That's another big question, because let's face it, we've seen a few in 3, 2, and 1 so far, and they're only going to ramp them up because I love the foreshadowing, and they are including all of that in the show. So let me know down below. All right, thank you so much for sticking with me here to the very end. Here's to many more.